And
I did.
so you go on and you run.
I ran for county commissioner. I filed that February 1992 for the position, and then I won in that May primary. Dorothy Brown ran against me. She was a community activist over there on Ashmore Street Neighborhood Association. She ran against me for the position. She was one of the ones who had said that she might run for it also,
Hmm.
but activists think that she could have been. So that's why I went and did what I had to do. And I beat her based about 2-1 margin. She did, it was a good race, and that was the first time I ever run for office. So I won it, and didn't have to have a general election because I won the primary. Nobody else ran in the district other from the Republican side because they do it as a predominantly African American district. And got on there in December 1992, and hit the ground
Remained.
running.
It remained
Yeah. Until last year, say 20 years,
2012.
2012. I became the when I got on there, we only had two blacks on there. That was uh, me and Warren Dorset,
Who
Katie
had replaced
Dorset,
his wife.
right? So
Yes.
Katie Dorset, she had taken a position with the governor's office, and
So
so
we're
she
talking about
was
Governor Jim Hunt.
Governor Jim Hunt, right? And so she took a position there, and gave her position. Her husband, Dorset, I was, and then church passed, Bonnie Donovan, I came on, and therefore we had to be African American board. And the leadership on the board, I said, now we got 3 African Americans on this. We got 7 Democrats and 4 Republicans. Facts, y'all in the party. Now one of us gonna have vice chairman at least of this board. I can't get white men when I got to be blacks. That's that's in the majority with the 7. Y'all got to share the power. And so the guy said, well, we might do that, Skip, but it won't be you. I said, well, it don't have to be me. It could be Warren or be Donnie Dillon or whoever it might be. But I'm just telling you, I can't, in good conscience, get behind 2 white men when I know that you all are depending on the 3 blacks in order to vote with you all to get anything done. So, so I guess it's the one that speaks out to get punished. So they said, okay, we'll elect Warren to be the vice chairman. I said, fine, as long as yes, that's African American. So Warren stayed chairman for a few years, and then the Republicans took back control of the board in I think 96 and stayed there for a couple of years. Then we got back, and then we became the majority again in 98. Then I became vice chairman of the board, and kind of worked with the chairman a little bit. And that was the first time I had been chairman. Warren wanted to be chairman again, but I decided I wanted my chance to be chairman. I ran and then in 2002, I came, and I had worked with several other whites on the board too. I had worked with some Republicans, and they was kind of split. And I had the desire to run for the chairmanship in 2002, but I didn't know whether I could get the votes or not. And then the sitting chairman, Bob Landers, he came to me and said, Skip, if you want to run next year for chairman of the board, if you get enough votes, I'll support you. I said, really? Like that? Because there's never been an African American chairman of the county commission. I said, okay, I'll keep that in mind. And then I went to him, and at the kind of about 6 months out, I said, are you serious about supporting me for chairman if I want to run? He said, yeah, if you can get the rest of the votes, I'll support you. I'll be your support. That. So I went to talk to him. I was still his guy right now. We got Mike Barber. He wants to run chairman of the board. Uh, he might have all the support. Then you go to the Republicans. And I said, well, I'm still planning on running. I would like to consider myself. If y'all vote me down, you vote me down, like that. And so a young lady, well, what's her name? But she's on the county commission. So, but I continue to see, try to get my 6 votes. My vote one vote also. So I asked a couple of members, and I asked at that point, Katie, Warren Dorsey had gotten off the board, and Carolyn Coleman was on the board, and then I think Donnie Donovan.
To complete that story regarding Carolyn did go on to work for the governor.
Yeah, she went and
now
worked for
she's
the governor.
back to the
Right.
Okay.
She for 8 years she worked for the governor.
Okay.
And then she came back and she took Warren Dorsey's place, but Warren Dorsey decided not to run anymore. So she took.
All right.
And
so you got you, Carolyn, and
me, Carolyn, and Bruce at that time, because I think Donnie Donovan had died, and Bruce took his place. And I asked Bruce and I asked Carolyn whether or not they would support me for chairman. So I had their support. And then I got the other, Bob Landry, he would have been one. And then got the other person, but I had 5 votes, and I needed 1 more vote. The young lady's name was Mary Rakestraw.
Okay.
She was on the county commissions at the time, but she was Republican. And she had told me, she said, Skip, I think you should be chairman, but I'm a Republican, and I like you, but you try to look out for me. But they Republicans really wasn't working with her because they had ran somebody against her best friend, and she didn't like that, so they was kind of split. She said, I like you, Skip. You always include me in everything, but I don't know if I can support you for chairman because they're crucified. Mary, I just want you to do the right thing. They're not working. I'm working. If I become chairman, I'm working with you. Let me think. People started counting votes, and media got involved in it. And Mary had said she don't know who she gonna vote for. So that made me think that she was really considering me, and me or Mike Barber at the time. And she didn't like Mike Barber, and I knew that. And I called up and said, Mary, is there any way possible that you can support me for chairman? And I promise you, I'll make sure that you do it. Let me give us a thought. They called me and the past. I'm not going to bombard me, and it's going to be passed on me for the public, like the chairman. And I said, Mary, I really appreciate it. About a week before the vote, everybody was counting the vote, but she did not tell anybody. And everybody asked me, do you have the vote? I said, I don't know. But I'm going to put my name out there and let the chips fall where they may. But I knew I had her vote, and that made 6. And so a couple of days beforehand, Mike Barber had asked her to support him, and she told him no. And
so that can only be
only one was running against him was me. And so they figured that it would be a lock, so it would be 5-5, and she would be the one who made the vote. And definitely, she's not going to vote for Skip Alston because he's black. And so she said, Skip, I've been getting a lot of phone calls. People been calling me names. You better not vote for that nigga. And you better not vote for that guy. He's a radical. And you're going to be messed up in the Republican Party if you vote for him. And we know you're not going to do that. Like that. And she said, Skip, it's tough. I said, Mary, whatever you feel, I can't do it. I'm doing it. Lo and behold, that came in that day, and Mike Barber, he didn't even want to show up for the, I guess, because he didn't know a win or didn't know, but he called it. Okay. And he said his wife is sitting in the guest, and when the vote came, everybody came around and voiced the vote, and made a great job voted. And then he had to concede in order to go ahead and vote for me. So I wanted to also for doing the right thing and working
I don't. What happened?
They targeted her, and they called I and she knows, and I know it's because of support of me on that camera. So they ran. I went against the election, and Mike Barber ran against her on the Democratic side. So, okay, so he was at large. I'm a against her. I was got up, and they ran Mike Winston, okay, and then Mike Barber thought that he was going to be good, but he went up a bit there. Mike Barber, he had all kinds of money in it, and Mike Barber, you know, that's how he got off the cabinet. Mike Barber became the cabinet. So they targeted Mary, because Mary had supported went on and ran for I and she has a Republican, and she won the next following year, and the board back endorsed her because of they thought that she could win number one at large, and then I supported her personally. I told her she could my picture, and I personally, and she won, and got against Hanfield. And that's when I told Mary, I said, I can't help you in that. One, I can support you back your opponent. And she lost by just votes. But Mary up and everything, showed up at all my birthday cookouts and parties and all that. I asked her, what
So not not that was the only. Tell us about the.
I committed to be chairman for only 1 year because I made a pledge that I think we should spread it around. I didn't want the first African chairman, the only African chairman. And that's why I only want to be chairman one time. And they, so
And that happened.
that happened. Bruce and I became very good friends. So Carol and I were good friends too. But Bruce asked me if I want to be. Running for the white Democrat, kind of being thinking I was going to get I'm supposed to run for him. So that's what I did. He after that, Carol proved to and she became the first African American female to be chair. All three of us came.
Right.
And I got um, 2008 uh, when the Democrats were still in control. Then the Democrats started fighting among each other. And Paul Gibson at that time was at-large representative, and he wanted to become chairman, and we gave him a chance to become chairman. And then he started working with the Republicans more so than he was with the Democrats. So we got very upset about that. And some of the Republicans didn't like him neither because he was kind of he started working with mainly with Billy Yao and some of his conservative friends. And the Republicans didn't think like that. Tea Party folks. And we didn't, none of us kind of liked that. So I was his vice chairman at the time. So I started working against him, and some of the Democrats started working against him, and some of the Republicans started working against him. And then they fired the first African American manager that we ever had too.
Yeah.
The first African American manager was hired under my administration in 2008. They went on and they fired him in order to make room for this other vice and the deputy worked that guy's back in order to get the vote to take the job. And I didn't like Paul and the other Democrats for that. So I ran against Paul. But what I did at that point, manager, I had asked him for a no tax increase budget that year, and I put on my own budget that had okay, and they still passed tax. So some of the Republicans like that, so they said, well, that was a budget with no tax, why not have it? Okay? So that's when Paul and I got together. I said, Steve, work with you can get Linda Shaw to work with. I can get 4 other votes, and you can become vice chairman, and I can become chairman, and we can try to turn this whole thing around. Okay? I said, and I agree to get rid of the manager. We bring in Brenda Jones Fox, who was a financial whiz, and she knows how to put together the budgets and all that stuff. She was already the finance director for the county. Put her in there. I get Fuller, who was the human resources director. The deputy manager. You work with Brenda, I work with Sharice, and we have that checking. I want to office you home and not me. I'm not knowing what's going on. So I want Brenda to be your eyes and ears. I want you to be my eyes and put this together. That's why we're as the manager. Manager before Brenda had already stated that because bonds, 1,000 bonds, the following year with 9% tax. That's before they have a 9% tax. So let's try to work together. Votes on your side. I get 4 votes on my side. I became chairman in 2000. I became chairman again in 2009, 2000. So I am the longest person.
Yeah, but what is that back being the chairman of this thing that everybody?
The chairman, like the mayor of the county, you are the first in the county. The staff in between mayor of High Point, okay, here by the citizens still don't have no more power than anyone in the council. Stated operation, the managers have some, and then somebody wants to have readings or the county to be represented. The county chairman like the chairman of the board of the county was basically like being the mayor of the county. And the county manager answered to me in between meetings. I set the agenda. I make the board appointments. I can pass resolutions. It's a lot of power that appoint committee members that lies within being the chairman of the board. And you conduct, or basically you control the process of the budget. And you're looking at almost a $600 million budget that you really have a lot of input in and a lot of say-so to. And I just, what a lot of African American projects never got any county funding before. Got funding because we had me as chairman, Carolyn, all three of us working together, making our project. Davis has brought billions of dollars over here. I would never like that because he had the power to do it, and as the chairman, and he had a network. Me and Carolyn is by his side. Say, Carolyn, I want this over there in my point, and y'all want this in Kingston. I support y'all, and y'all support me. He was able to thereby bring not only in the black community, but in the white community, the furniture market, $500,000, billions of dollars going to the other economic development projects here in and had the ear of the chair. You know,
Jay, that was under Paul Newsom.
yes, that's what the bond passed.
Right. Am I correct in saying that your position was that you didn't think we needed the jail at the time?
Yes, and I still don't think we need it.
Okay.
Because I believe in alternatives to incarceration, and I believe that if we build it, they're gonna feel it.
Exactly.
And most of all, 80% of them are gonna look like me and you. And I knew that 80% right now have a children's problem, mostly alcohol and drugs. They're not most of our youth. Okay, so they got so I thought they would put more money into alternatives to the gospel, build some drug treatment centers, mental health centers, that rather than building a jail in order to warehouse young black men, be more beneficial to us as a whole than they build another jail, 1,000-bed jail, and then fill it with a lot of black males. And I know that they base that jail rate on how many people are going to be in jail based on third grade population. Okay. They know that those third graders, which is about 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years from now, a certain percentage of them are going to be in this criminal justice system. Okay. Therefore, they got to build a jail in order to accommodate. Okay. But we could have very easily renovated the 2 jails that we had in High Point and in Greensboro. That would have been about 700 beds. Okay. And then not have to build a $100 million jail that right now you got 600 people in, 1,000-bed jail. Okay? And again, most of those folks are sick. They are not criminals. Mm-hmm. And that's why I fought against it. And I wanted to put more money into drug treatment centers and alternatives to incarceration, like in-home house arrest. Okay?
Tell me something. Why do you think that the majority of the people who were in LLC, including white people, didn't see it?
It's about jobs. It's about business. If no criminals are out there, you got to lay off a lot of people with the justice. Okay, so it's about profit. It's about jobs and services that are there for them to take care of and a lot of jails make profit. Also,
what do you privatizing jails and prisons? Prisons, exactly.
I don't agree with it and don't disagree. I don't know all the pros and cons about my initial thought is that if you privatize it, then the only thing a person is going to be thinking about is profit. Therefore, you're not going to be getting the benefit of any rehabilitation or anything like that. And then they're basically going to be treated like animals in a cage, and they throw the food.
Going back the way it was years ago that we fought against.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you can privatize it, and then you can bring about some humanity to the jail system, rather than treating these like animals, then that's like. But I think I would work on a state level, very pain the way that they in those jails, and even in a not just the prisons, but the jails. where people are in the jail, they're innocent until proven guilty. They haven't been adjudicated yet. Okay, they're just there because they can't make bonds, and most of those people can't make bonds because they come from very impoverished families. Okay, and they're innocent, but they're having to spend jail, time in jail, waiting trial because they can come up with $500 bond.
Months.
Right.
It is.
They lose their job, the family goes to health care, the snowball, whole criminal.
That's if people on that service. What
That I was able to bring about some diversity within county government. When I first got there and walked through the different departments as the county, newly elected county commissioner, I asked the county manager at that time, I said, is this Martin Luther King Jr. Day? He said, what do you mean? I said, because I don't see any black folks. Black folks must be off today. He said, no, 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 no. We got some black folks. Show them. I said, I want to see them. Okay? I want to see county government look like our community. That's what I'm here for. Okay? And I got a lot of criticism because I adopted a black agenda. Every time a board, a commission came up for reappointment, I asked how many blacks was on that board. And if they didn't have any blacks on the board, I made it clear that I wanted blacks on those boards and commissions. So inclusion of blacks on boards and commissions, inclusion of blacks in county government senior level staff. I was able to get the first African American uh, county manager came when I became first black chairman of the board. Now we got black county manager, interim county manager now. We got social service director is black. The health department director is black. Juvenile detention center always have a black there, but he's black still. We got blacks on our boards and commissions. We got more blacks now participating in county government as far as services for goods and contracts. More money going back into the African American community. Nonprofit organizations have been benefiting now over the past 20 years since I've been on the board because we stimulated the consciousness of the other people, the staff, and the other county commissioners. We pay taxes too, and we got this district representation here. You got 3 African Americans here. We're going to insist that some money go into our community, and by working with people like Carolyn Coleman, Bruce Davis, that believe and committed themselves to the same thing, it was a good run for me, and it was a little easier than me having to fight the battle by myself. So being able to give back and open up doors for more African Americans is a big accomplishment, and also trying to take the partisanship out of county government over the past 4 years that I was there. You notice in the last 4 years that I was there, we didn't have all the chaos, fighting, the screaming, the yelling, and the partisanship. My last budget, they're trying to track the history now. That was the only budget that's ever passed in recent history about a unanimous vote. And because we came together as a board, and that signified all of that for the past 4 years. The last budget that the county passed was passed on a unanimous vote. Democrats and Republicans supported because everybody had that buy-in. So bringing about togetherness on the board and taking some of the partisanship out of it, I feel was a big problem.
What are your political aspirations, if you have any?
Well,
can you tell us that?
I would like to continue to serve. I like elected office. I think I was born to serve. I had gone to my minister, Reverend Vernon King, when he was alive, and I told him I thought maybe I was called to preach. And I wanted to examine that possibility because I wanted to serve people. I wanted to make sure that people, number one, and we have this, but I know that everything that I've been able to do in my lifetime is because of the blessing of the Lord. And I want to be able to give back to the Lord. And what capacity, I don't know if it's because I want to preach or serve. And he says, Skip, you know, you can be a minister in different ways. You don't have to be just a preacher in order to serve. Maybe the Lord has allowed you to be involved with the NAACP, be involved in politics. That's your ministry.
I was going to ask, one of the things I do ask is one's faith in one's life. How does it play?
I do nothing. I can't do anything without the blessing of the Lord. I know without Him, I'm nothing. And I say that literally because from my past, what I've been through, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I didn't come from any rich families or anything like that. What the Lord has allowed me to do as a servant to NAACP and county commissioner is only because He used me to do His will. And I know that. And if He were to leave me today, I would be absolutely. And I'm only doing this because He wanted me to do this for Him. And He's using me in order to give blessings to people. And it's not nothing that I know that I deserve or have done in order to deserve.
Now, let me ask you about one of the major things that I indicated earlier that you and Earl Jones remain together, and that's the picture that you all have with the civil rights movement. Tell us about how that came about and when it came.
Woolworth in 1992 had said that they were going to close the store in downtown Greensboro because it wasn't making enough money. Jesse Jackson got involved, and a lot of other community folks got involved. I didn't have anything to do with it at all. And called the people at Woolworth in New York and said, "You can't shut that store down. We want you to continue to keep that store open if you don't keep any other store open because of the historical significance of that store. And we'll get people to go there to support it. We'll get people to go there and to make sure that we get more profit coming through." And Woolworth said, "Yes, we'll try it." And so another year passed. Nothing changed. Okay, and Jesse and them, I don't know what happened during that year's time, but the stock didn't go up. The profits didn't go up for that particular store. So in October 1993, they decided to go ahead and close it without any questions whatsoever. And we went to Woolworth and asked them whether or not they would, Earl Jones and I. We said that now it's closed, now what can we do with that store? And what needs to happen with that store? And Earl's office just happened to be right across the street from the Woolworth store. And we were sitting in his office one day because I was on his board of directors. We said, "Now, what can we do with that building?" And I said, "Well, what about a museum?" He said, "Museum?" I said, "Yeah, we can do a museum and we can try to commemorate what happened right there because it's a historical site." He said, "Well, that's a good idea. Let's explore that." We got to talking about it and thinking about it. He said, "You know, that's a good idea. We can put a museum there." And me and Earl didn't know nothing about a museum. I mean, we just knew that a historical site, and you got the history there already there, and what happened there, all in the history books and all over the world. It's a historical site. We can make it a museum. What kind of museum? I don't know. Okay. So we said, well, let's see what we might be able to do. And we went to Woodward and called the people at Woodward and asked them, what you all plan on doing with the store? Are you planning on, can you give it to us so we can do a museum or some type of educational center or something like that? They said, we would love to do that, but we don't own the store. We said, you don't own the store? They said, no. They said, no, First Citizens Bank owns the store. Now, First Citizens just had built a brand new bank right next door to the Woolworth store. And it was kept quiet that they owned it. And their plan was to go ahead and tear that building down and then make a parking lot out of it because they didn't have no parking space. Okay? We knew nothing about that. Okay, and as First Citizen kept it very quietly that they owned the store. So when Woolworth told us that, I called First Citizens, local people. They said, I said, can we talk? I need to talk to somebody about the ownership of the store next door. They said, well, we don't handle that here. It's our corporate office down in Raleigh. I said, give me a name. So I called the people down there, made an appointment with them, and I said, we want to come and talk with you about your future plans of that store. And Earl and I went down there. I think Earl might have gone down there. And met with their lawyers, met with their corporate president, and they told us our plan is to tear down the store because we have no history. And we sat back and said, let me tell you something. Before you tear down that store, okay, we would lay down in front of your bulldozer and you would have to run over our bodies before you do it. They sat back like that. I said, what do you mean? I said, we would make sure that the black community know that First Citizens Bank is trying to destroy our history. And you don't want to get that kind of message out there on First Citizens. That we would make it our mission to make sure that the black community know what you are trying to do with our history. He said, well, what do you want us to do with it? I said, we want to, we want you to give the building to us so we can make a museum or educational center out of it for the civil rights, for the community. Said, no, we're not going to give it. We can't give it to you because that building is worth a lot of money and we need a parking lot. But if you want to buy it from us, then that's one thing, but we're not going to give you anything. I guess they looked at us and said, we have no money. And I said, well, how much do you want for it? He said, well, why don't you make us an offer? I said, okay, I'll get back with you next week and we'll find out how much the building is worth and make an offer. I went down to the tax department and looked at the tax value of it and found out it was worth $700,000. And I called the guy back and I said, well, we'll offer you tax value on it of $700,000. He said, well, we really don't want to sell it, but if you want to do that, then if we'll sell it to you if you come up with the money in the next 90 days. I said, well, will you loan us the $700,000? They said, no, we're not going to loan you anything. I said, well, will you make a contribution towards it? He said, well, we'll make a contribution. We'll give you, I said, how much you ask? I said, I'd like for you to give us $50,000 or $60,000. He said, well, okay, we'll give you $6,000. Y'all come up with the rest within 90 days. Thinking that we could do it. So we went to CCB and talked with them about bank loan. Oh, we didn't have no money on our own. We had no collateral or anything like that. So a friend of ours, Doug Harris, he had a $100,000 CD that he had with First Citizens Bank, and he said that he would put that money, that CD up as collateral if the bank was to loan it to us. And then what we did I called Dr. Joseph Lyra and told him what we was trying to do. I said, Dr. Lyra, would you come up and we're going to try to do a banquet to try to raise some money in order to go ahead and within that 90 days to pay the money off. And he said, yeah, I'll come up and do a banquet for these speakers. So we raised I think about $30,000 within that 60-day period. So we put down that 60,000 plus the about 30,000. So we financed about $600,000, and then the bank went on to loan us the rest of the money. And we was paying that as we got contributions and all that kind of stuff. And it took us a while to pay it off, but we got down to about $50,000 or $60,000, and the bank wanted their money. And we also put up, Lee Earl personally pledged our assets. So we personally guaranteed the loan too. So me, Earl, and Doug personally guaranteed the loan for the $600,000. And at the end, the bank, we got it down to about $50,000. And I had gotten blessed that year that they would go ahead and loan the Civil Rights Museum, I think about $56,000, something like that, in order to pay off the note and then get them off our back. And then within a year's time, they was able to pay me my money back for it. But we burned the mortgage, the note on that. And then after the mortgage was paid for, that's when we started trying to raise the money for the renovation. We had gotten Clinton Gravity to give us some preliminary drawings on what it would look like. And He didn't charge us anything for that. We just wanted to have something to be able to go out there to the community. This is what the museum would look like. And then when we get the money, I think we're trying to raise about $3 million somewhere in that area, thinking it was going to take about that much money to renovate. And had several fundraisers. We had when Earl was on the city council, we had a bond referendum for the $3 million. That failed by about 1 or 2% more. And then we had a little backlash backstep then, and then we found out that the spring or stream was running through downtown Greensboro up under all of those buildings down. So when we started the renovations, we got about $100,000 to start the renovation. We dug down in the basement and we hit a well. I mean, we hit a spring, and the water just splashed everywhere. And then we had to go back from day one in order to regroup because we had been talking to the Smithsonian about affiliating with them. And they said that if you got a spring up under that building, that creates moisture. So therefore, if you are going to use some of our artifacts, you got to give us assurance that you have 0% moisture in the air. So we said, well, give us a system that you would like, that you would approve, and what you would be able to sign off on. So they sent down the specifications and everything, and they came to about $2.5 million for us to put a system in that would take all the moisture and everything out there. And so we had to go back to raising money again. So we hired another fundraiser, Amelia Parker at the time, and she came in as executive director, and she looked at the plans, and she said, I don't think this is going to be something that the community is really going to be proud of, and we really need to revamp the plan. So we took a trip to California and talked with and they gave us something we wasn't. We visited about 10 days so that we would have some travel in California. Put together that, and that jacked the price up for you. So looking at freebie, and then it got up with that system. We wound up building also. And then we didn't know where we were going to get the money from. And then another friend of ours, Doug's friend, came to us that used to deal with dealing with our tax credit. He said, "Have you all ever tried getting tax credit in order to build a museum?" Well, I go back before that, we had another bond referendum put on the ballot for the city council, and a $3 million, and that thing also. So 2 bond referendums failed in order to support the museum, but they passed the bond referendum to support the Coliseum renovation and these Greensboro Historical Museum renovations and Natural Science Center renovation. Everything passed except for ours. So a friend of ours came and he said, "Have you all tried tax credits?" We said, "No." He said, "Well, there are some tax credits out there." And I knew a little bit about tax credits because I was managing some apartments at that time. They had tax credits out at the time. And I knew it's a lot of work, paperwork. He said some historical tax credit, and some federal tax credit, but you would have to go through a lot of process in order to get the money. But I can put together people to kind of guide you through it. So we got in contact with college. We came up and talked about the process. Look into it, qualified, and came back about a qualified. Hired several lawyers, tax credit, renovation, tax credit grant, federal, state, local tax, and put together that. Had to form about 4 or 5 different LLC properties, So for a 7-year period, you have to structure of the tax credit in order to ensure that tax that get their tax credit back over 7 years. So got the money, got approved for all the tax credits in local, state, and federal. Okay, but it took us from C in order to base. So on February the 1st, and I always say this too, we might have wanted to open it 5 or 6 years after we started it, or even 10 years after we started. But it's always God's time. And the Lord wanted us to open it on that very day, 50 years later,
exactly
February,
to the day.
exactly to the day, on that particular Monday, February the 1st, 2010, 50 years to the date, we opened that facility.
And when you say 50 years to the date, that's 50 years to the date of the city.
50 years to the city. We opened on February 1st. You know? And we had planned on having a big hospital fabrication Adam Sunday night, people born, state, and we basic policy. It was going to be free content. And no, so we thought the council, our banquet was that Saturday. We had Julian Bond was supposed to have been here. We was honoring him, and Tom Joyner. They was coming. They couldn't come because of the flood. And everybody said, well, I guess y'all gonna have to cancel your grand opening. I said, nope. Rain, sleet, snow, and shine. That museum is going to be open on February 1st, 2002. Okay? I don't care what we have to do. And I told the city we were going to be there, and they worked all that weekend, moving all that snow from around all the way downtown. Okay? The place looked like it never had snowed before. They worked until probably 2 or 3 o'clock that morning on February on that night. Had the governor came. We thought President Obama was going to come and help us open it because we had sent him an invitation, and he had sent his advanced team in order to check out everything, talk to the local police, the sheriff, and all those. And the sheriff was telling, he told me, he said, well, you might get it because I've been in contact with this Secret Service people, and they've been asking questions about it and all that. So more than likely he might come. But a week before he came, we found out he wasn't going to come. He sent Secretary of Civil Rights, Perez, down to represent. We had State Senator, U.S. Senator Kay Hagan. The governor came. Perez came from Obama's office. Mel Watts. We had hosted about 3,000 people lined up downtown to see the open. And it was like 18 degrees outside. So it was rough. It was a beautiful, beautiful setting. We had the stage in the middle of Elm Street, and we cut that ribbon. Jesse Jackson was there, and the governor, like I said, he helped cut the ribbon. And all the 3 sitting guys were there, and it was a major point.
And the reason you had 3 of the sit-in guys was someone.
Right. David Richmond, and those guys, they come every year. We've been having this banquet since 1994. Our first big award that we gave, one of our consultants suggested that we name a major award, our major civil rights award, in honor of me and Earl. He brought that to the board adopted. So we got the Alston Jones International Civil and Human Rights Award that we've been giving out since 1995. Our first recipient was Rosa Parks. And when I told people that I was going to try to get Rosa Parks, they said, yeah, right. All the newspapers said, yeah, right. Rosa Parks not going to come here to get no award named after Skip Austin and Earl Jones. Who are they? And so I got in contact with Rosa Parks' office and started talking to her manager. And she had told me that Rosa Parks usually wouldn't go anywhere unless she got about $20,000 on expenses in it. I said, no, we can't pay that. I said, but if you let me know that the day this was paid. Most we can pay is about $5,000. She said, oh, no, we can't do that. He said, I said, now, does she have any books that she can sell? He said, yeah. I said, how much are your books? He said, about $13 a piece. I said, I tell you what, if you were to have Rosa Parks, we would give her $5,000. And as many books as she could sell up to $20,000, I would guarantee that if she personally signed everything. He said, well, that wouldn't be no problem right there. You can do that. That's no problem. You can sell that kind of those kind of books. I said, I would guarantee if Rosa Parks comes here and she signed those books, I would guarantee she would walk away with more than about $20,000. He said, well, let's sit down and talk. Long story short, got Rosa Parks here, announced that she was coming here, picked up from the airport, and we wanted to have her put the book at a bookstore, uh, but I knew it would be. So I contacted the board. So that's what I wanted. Got these books on and books out. See what I can tell them. Then goes on. Got back with them. Uh, largest malls. Those are possible. Made the announcement. We had lines all outside the door, waiting on her to come into that door. I don't know if you were there, guy.
Wait a minute. If the little old lady sat there and signed.
She had signed a few before, okay, but she sat there for 2.5 hours, and she sat there and signed on them. All of them that was there. We had about probably, I think about 100 or so that she had pre-signed. And then she sat there right then and there and signed.
Wow.
I'm thinking probably over 1,000. She probably signed 1,000 books. But we kept on passing. And she sat there. And I rode her into that mall in a wheelchair. I think one was walking, like 5 years old.
Yeah.
And she sat there with all security folks behind her. She sat there, pictures, cameras were everywhere. And she sat there and signed those books. And then I took Joe Dudley, asked me whether or not I can get her to come out there in order to visit his facility. I said, well, I can do it if you guarantee me that she can sell about 1,000 books. And he said, no, you bring her out here, hell, I might buy 1,000 books like that. She's afraid she signed it. So I got her. We stood up that night, set up that night, and she went to her in her hotel room, signed about 500 books. And before that night, and just took them out there and started signing in front of everybody. And we sold those about. So I spent 3 days literally with Rosa Parks.
What was the discussion like?
Well, you can imagine I was in awe and kept picturing myself that this is really Rosa Parks.
Yeah.
But I got in my van, in my car, and at that time I had my little son with me. He was like 2, 3 years old. And my wife and all the rest sitting in the hotel room in her suite and all, riding her around. I said, oh. She's just telling me about how what the atmosphere was in Montgomery, Alabama, and what people are doing now, what she was doing during the 1960s. She said, and she went down to the lunch counter too. She said, I heard about this lunch counter, but this is the first time I ever seen it. And she sat there at that lunch counter and signed a lot of autographs. But mainly talking about back then and today's civil rights movement and her encouraging me to keep on going. And what this community, this generation needs to be doing in order to bring about really freedom and justice for everybody. So she was very alert. She spoke at the banquet that Saturday night, and did an excellent job. So that was a once in a lifetime.
Exactly.
And then when she died, they sent me an invitation to come to the funeral. And I was like 4 or 5 seats from rows from the front. So I got a chance
To the very end. What are your hopes and dreams for the center? You suggest.
I hope that the Civil Rights Museum, I hope that the Civil Rights Museum will be around for years. That it can be a place for inclusion and not division. I want blacks and whites to feel that Civil Rights Museum belongs to people. We're putting together a curriculum now to try to bring the races together, maybe not in this generation, but in the next generation, 20 years from now, where we're trying to bring all the 4th, 5th, 8th, and 11th graders throughout the entire state of North Carolina to the city. It's a program that we put together called Building a Better America through core democratic values. And that's trying to reach out to the young people to teach them about civil rights, diversity, and inclusion. We got together with Nito Cobain, which is president of High Point University, and Dr. Harold Martin, chancellor of A&T State University, a predominant black college, predominant white college. They gave us their professors of history to put together this curriculum that we have together, put together and worked on for the past year. A curriculum that would speak to inclusion, on how we might be able to live together, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Always said, as brothers and sisters, and not die together as food. Something that would call the young people of this generation, in the 4th, 5th, 8th, and 11th grade, to be able to talk freely about racism, and to be talk freely about discrimination, without getting angry with each other. And if we can get their mindset together as it relates to inclusion and working together and looking at each other as human beings and not just as black and white, 20, 30 years from now, we might have a colorblind society where people might be able to learn to live together. It might be a little too late for my generation, your generation, to be able to say we'll put aside racism and look at each other as brothers and sisters. If we work with our kids, okay, and knowing that they are the leaders of tomorrow, and help them become really the leaders of the day by helping to shape that discussion. So when they go home in the 4th grade and 5th grade, and they start talking to mom and daddy about the Civil Rights Museum and what they learned about the Civil Rights Museum and what's in the Civil Rights Museum, their parents are going to get curious. Then they might say, okay, well, my kids are looking at this from another perspective. I need to try to look at it from that perspective. But we won't. I didn't like the idea, and the center is not there just for a one-time event. I don't want the kids. I didn't like the idea, and we had thousands of kids that go through it. But the question is, what are they learning when they go through it?
What are they taking away?
Exactly. So they'll go through a 45-minute tour of the museum, but they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know the value of what they're looking at. Exactly. So I wanted to put together a curriculum where they would study before they get to the museum. They can look so that way they can know exactly what they're going to be seeing when they get to the museum and know exactly what it's all about. Okay? And not see it for the first time. Okay? And then when they go through the museum, then after they leave the museum, then they got another curriculum they go through in order to talk about, to get some feedback. And what have you learned from that experience? So that's what we're trying to put together as our signature for the next generation, bringing all of the races.
You mentioned kids this that you're planning now for the students. Were they involved at all in the initial stages of the museum?
Yes and no. We always had a position on the board for the chancellor of A&T to be a board member, and we've always included Greensboro for the city participants. But they have not been involved as far as planning and fundraising and things of that nature. That in fact we had hoped that they would, but we know that they've had their struggles and their challenges also, as far as trying to make sure they get ready for A&T. But we have tried to and include everything that we tried when Dr. Martin activities, Dr. Reddick before that fundraising. It was a good start. I think that we can feel it.
And then he wanted to be the first black president. Did you think that, obviously you thought that it was going to be like, did you think that Obama would?
You know, I thought about that when I was a kid, and now about 10 years old, and the president is 40. You know, surely there's going to be a president black. Yeah, I think that. But I thought then that 40 years from now we would definitely have a black president. Okay, but after I got to be the age of 40, 35, 40 years old, that ain't gonna happen in my lifetime. And I said, I might have been right, but I said, no, I'm not gonna be the first black president. I'm not gonna. I know that now. I said, but being the first black county commissioner's chairman, that's pretty good. So I'm first black son.
Okay. So what did you think about President Obama becoming president? What were your thoughts and feelings at that time?
I only saw God's hand, to be honest. No other explanation for that to happen. I mean, you can't even rationalize how a black man got to be president of the United States.
At the time that he
did. And then I started thinking about analyzing again, you know, like Dr. King. And I said, well, Dr. King might have seen this. Because in 1963, Martin Washington, he said, I dreamed that one day my 4 little children would be able to be judged by the contents of the character, not by the color of their skin. Okay? Now, he won't talking about his kids personally. Now, the way I looked at this, now, during that time, Obama was a part of his kids, that generation, his kids' generation. He was talking about the children of that generation. And Obama came out of that generation. See? And then he became the president of the United States out of that generation. See? So I said, now, King might have foreseen something of that nature.
Speaking of children and
yeah, from a larger context, my little children will one day be judged by the color of their skin, but not by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And they judged Obama by the content of his character and didn't see the color of his skin. That's and that's what I truly believe, that King foretold that out of that generation would come the first black president of the United States. Okay. And he was judged by the contents of his character, not by the color.
All right, so that was your analysis after the election. Being a politician, going into it from the other end before it happened, what were your thoughts at that point when he was running? And
I didn't think he had a snowball chance in hell, so to speak, to win. When he first came out, and I said, now this young son, well, I think this is seriously what happened. Back to the billboard issue, okay? It's a true story. They had a billboard issue in Chicago. And the people from Chicago, billboard people, called me and said, we want you to come to Chicago and talk to this state senator, Obama, about his position on billboard. I said, okay, let me know. I'll be glad to come. And then about a week or so later, they called back and said, don't worry about it. We got him. He's all right on our side. He said, but Skip, you really need to get to know this guy. He's getting ready to run for United States Senator. Okay, and we think he's going to get it. And he might be the first black president of the United States. I said, oh man, everybody that becomes a black senator and the U.S. senator, they thought about the same. Carl Mosley Brown, that she could be first. I said, you're just saying that because he'd be a black senator. That's not going to happen in our lifetime. Don't even worry about that.
You actually said
I
that?
said that. I said, that's not going to happen. And he said that this guy might be the first black president. And I lost his number. I've been meaning to call him and apologize because he predicted it. I said, that is not going to happen in our lifetime. And when he got out there and then he won Iowa, that's when I said, now, wait a minute. This guy, and then I still won't sold. I thought it was a fluke. I thought the white folks were really trying to play a game on it.
Okay.
See, and I thought Hillary was going to be the person to beat. And indirectly, I was supporting the pull for Hillary because I thought a white woman had a better chance of being president than a black man. Okay. So then he got to raise, I heard about raising all this money, and then I got to really focus in on him and the way he was carrying himself, his charisma. I said that this guy could probably do it if anybody can. If they were to judge him by his character rather than his skin, this guy can do it. And then it went on. He got to be winning another primary and all that stuff. And Bill Clinton started coming out against. I said they really worried about this guy. And I said, now if he get the, I said, well, he might get the primary. That would be, get to win the nomination. I didn't think that he was going to get the nomination. I thought he was going to become close. Then we could say, as an African American community, we almost did it like that. And then when he got it, I said, now I know these white folks ain't gonna let this black guy be president of the United States. But he's accomplished something nobody that black is never in their lifetime. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, none of them. At least he got the nomination. And then I said, wait a minute, man. If he got the nomination, that means white people voted for him. They might go ahead and put him in there. Or then they might wake up and say, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. So I was hoping all the way up to the end that white people will remain true to putting the best person in there. And it really was it changed my mind about white people. The white people will and can see past color. So, and that's when I really changed my concept with Steve Arnold and them. That was in 2000, 2008. And that's when I really had a real transformation in my thoughts about white people and what they will do in order to work with black.
So you grew hopeful.
Yeah, I was more than I had a 180-degree change about white people and what they're capable or willing to do. And then when they really elected him again, I said, I mean, and he's not one of those so-called Uncle Tom blacks. And he speaks his mind. He's charisma. He got all types of charisma. The guy is brilliant. And I'm proud to call him a black man. Even though I know he's biracial, but he's black. And white folks see everything. And I really, I think a whole lot better now for the overall white population than I did before that.
And especially with the second.
Because I thought maybe they said, well, we let them have it this time. They got it. We ain't going to let it happen no more. But now I really have a better confidence in America as a black and white and all types of nationalities.
And I don't want to end on a bad note, but in view of the Republican takeover of North Carolina, do you still have that hope?
I think that we, good whites and blacks, I think they're going to see the damage that this General Assembly is going to do, and they're going to come together and they're going to correct it. And that's why I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of the leadership down in Raleigh in order to try to make that happen. It's going to have to take some leadership, and it's going to have to take some planning, and it's not going to happen overnight. And the Republican takeover didn't happen overnight. That was probably a 10-year plan, and you're going to have somebody down there in order to try to look out 4 or 6 years out in order how we take this thing over instead of going just sitting down there. I'm in a minority. I can't do nothing. Okay. So, but you got to plan like them, and you got to be able to look to be able to see where their weak spots are. And if you have at least 17 seats, okay, you find the weakest 17, you go into those districts, you find somebody that can win in that district, you put money behind them and help them win that seat. But somebody's got to take the leadership in order to orchestrate something like that. I don't see that among the Democrats right now, and that bothers me. And that's the only reason I would want to go down there as a state senator, in order to try to move the old crowd, like Mickey Shaw and all Dan Blue and all them. They got that foresight. They just don't have the energy anymore. I want to go down there and be that energy. Y'all, I'm not that. So, I'll be your gopher, okay? Show me which one, how do you gonna do it? And then we can try to take it back over. And at the same, like I always say, we can still get something. Everything is not partisan, okay? And some of these things around here that hurt black people also hurt white Republicans.
Yeah, there's no way there's just one group of people anymore.
Exactly. So we got to be able to find those things that's in common with us and deliver something. Just because I'm a minority, that don't give me an excuse not to deliver something back to my community. Might as well not even be there. So that's why I'm looking at politics.
We're gonna end this interview on a note back to your grandmother. I look your thing. For your name itself.
My mom said that her best when I was like a year and a half, so I told her to call me kid. And oh, kind of dropped the TY. So, yeah. But my grandmother, my mother, and my father's always, and but my grandmother always told me, "If I always try to, because you can't." Okay? Whatever you do in life, always try to do this.
Mr. Alston? Melvin? Your boss? Thank you so very much.
It's been my pleasure. No problem at all. It's great. It's great. I like it. I'm gonna stay on the ride.